Taking more time to pray with God, say, God, give me the right motives before I say this. If you have a friend or a spouse or someone you know that there's some truth that they need to hear, my suggestion, you spend 2-3 days fasting and praying, God, I want this to be right. I want to do this for the right reasons. I want it, and they might not receive it well, but I know that when I do it, it's because you want me to do it. And I'm not going to do it on my timetable. I do it on yours. I'm going to just really kind of lay this thing before you and then ask you to open the door, create the moment, and then speak the truth and be honest, regardless of the risks involved. Because if God is in it and working, the celebration is knowing the right thing happened. Because it was all about with God in that. So being honest is really important. That's how we love people. We can also love people with careful words. Proverbs 21:23 says, he who guards his mouth and his tongue keeps himself from calamity. I don't personally know this at all, but, no. Too often we talk first and then, it ends up creating a huge problem. We kind of, blurt it all out there and then we can't take it back. Because words are so powerful, we have to be careful. There's the Bible talks about a lot of situations. A couple big ones, I think, for us is certainly being careful in the area of anger. Ephesians 4:26-27 says, in your anger do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry. And do not give the devil a foothold. He's describing that in the context of anger with someone, that we're giving an opportunity for Satan to get involved in that. And then honestly, obviously it can be physical, which wasn't good, but most often it's in anger that we speak hurtful words. It's in anger we choose to say, ooh, I got a good one that's going to just really cut him at the knees. And we end up hurting. And that's how we see it get worse and worse. And if you go back to the motives, anger can just destroy relationships when we use words as a weapon. And so we have to be careful in those situations to say, look, at what I'm about to, my response in this situation cannot be out of anger. It's got to be motivated by seeking reconciliation and healing and truth. The other area to be careful is in the area of gossip. And this is huge, because gossip often appears to be information being passed on. You need to know this. Gossip can so easily be done, and again, we talk about the invisibility of the power of words. That gossip, hey, did you know about, I'm concerned for them. I understand that, and next thing you know, you're sharing information that really you have no business sharing. One of the things that, let me read this. Proverbs 16:28 says, gossip separates close friends. One of the things someone said to me once, which I think is really powerful, is to say, what you're about to share with another person, would you say the same thing if the one you're talking about would be right in the room? And if not, then you don't need to share it. You need to ask yourself, am I about to say something about someone that I would just as easily say to their face if they were standing right here? In fact, you should probably step back and say, have I said it to their face before I share it? Because if I haven't gone to them first, then certainly I don't need to be talking to someone else about it. You need to guard against gossip. Scripture goes through in a bunch of other areas, talks about division, things that cause division or slander or unrest, and all of those things are really cause us to stop and say, look, we're not being very careful. There's a saying I like, you probably heard it, better to be thought a fool and then speak up and remove all doubt. And that's really based on Proverbs 17:28. Doesn't say it that way, but Proverbs 17:20 says, even a fool is thought to be wise if he keeps silent. That's why oftentimes there'll be a person, I've been in meetings where someone sits silently and says one thing, and when they walk away, that person's so wise, because the one thing was really good. They didn't just blabber like me, and then it's like, well, maybe there was one good thing, but there was like 20, dumb things, and you kind of lose the credibility. So really it's important, if you want to love people that you have to love with careful words, you have to pause and say, what would be the right words in this situation? Third one in that kind of goes along that same lines, is we love people with building words. Words that build up, words that are intended to be able to encourage someone else and lift them up. Ephesians 4:29 says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their deeds. I said in the very beginning, words can build up or words can tear down. Words can build up a marriage relationship, or they can tear down a marriage relationship. They can build up a child's self-esteem, or they can destroy their self-esteem. They can build up relationships with your coworkers, or your classmates, or your friends, or your neighbors, or they can tear them down. Every word that we say has the power to do one or the other. And so we have to stop and ask ourselves, the words I'm sharing, are they words that are building up? One of the ways of knowing is that the words you share are for the benefit of the other person. Because a lot of times we say stuff that sound like they're for the benefit, but honestly, they're for me. I'll give you an example. I have a favorite saying my wife loves to hear. And now I'm being honest here because she might use it against me. But I'm going to risk that. She'll talk about something she's struggling with and, describing maybe some insecurity in it or just wrestling with it and stuff like that. And me and my wisdom will say, honey, it is what it is. She probably could have blurted it out if I said, it is what it is. I mean, that's truth. It is what it is. But is it really building her up? Or is it just cutting off the conversation on my end so I don't have to talk about it anymore? I think if I'm being honest, it's a way to kind of say, let's just wrap this thing up in a bow and go, set it over there. As opposed to something that would build up that would say, honey, yeah, we can't change that, but I understand what you're saying, and, and I'm not as good as ad-libbing whatever those words would be. But, but I know there's better words. And too often we say things that are just really make our lives better. We either say it that we know will shut them up, or we say it that we know that, it'll be quick, but the reality is in my time, in my situation, I just don't really have the time, and so therefore I pick words that more benefit me than they benefit the other person. If you speak loving words, they have to build up the other person. That's what it's about. There's an acronym here that Rick Warren had given that I thought was really good. And so when you're speaking, one he says is think about what you're saying and uses this acronym THINK. First one for T, is it truthful? In other words, is it the truth, or is it twisted a little bit to be able to be to your advantage? H, is it helpful? Will it really help for the other person? Does it really help for them to know this? Or is it going to hurt them, tear down their self-esteem or something? I, is it inspirational? Does it build up? Does it tear out? Does it inspire them to be able to continue on? And is it necessary? I was kind of thinking of Thumper and Bambi. If you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. But maybe you need to work harder, to try to find something good to say. But it is asking that question. How necessary is it to be able to say what I in my mind I want to say? And K, is it kind? As we talked about last week, love is kind. And so the words that you say need to be kind. The words that we talked about only make a difference if we use the power of God's love in the context and choosing those right words. It takes that conscious effort on our part as we go out during the week or we go into these relationships to almost approach it, honestly, praying ahead of time, saying, God, give me the right words to say. Let me be a reflection of you in this situation, much like Jesus always speaking the truth, but in love. Let me be a reflection of you in this situation to speak the truth, but to be clear that it's in love as we speak it. And so I have in your insert there a challenge, 5 ways to speak truth in love this week. As you go out, and I want to challenge you, I was going to say, well, just pick one of them this week. Now, there's 7 days, so that gives you 2 days off. Speak all 5 this week. Figure out a way to speak all 5 this week. First of all, speak kind words. Transform worry into joy. Proverbs 12:25. An anxious heart weighs a man down, but a kind word cheers him up. Where can you be kind? Speak kind words. Speak gentle words. Break through anger. Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger.